but this callous hands working this red dirt land, picking up scraps and broken things, making them work again. Mike will make it, Mike will make it, from the dust and rust and pain. Mike will make it, Mike will make it, something strong from what remains. Mike will make it. You seen me down in the heat, sweat dripping on concrete, taking your trash you're thrown away, building tomorrow today. Mike will make it, Mike will make it, from the dust and rust and pain. Mike will make it, Mike will make it, Mike will make it. Let's make it. Folks, let me tell you about the way I live. Taking scraps from the junkyard, got so much to give. West Texas wind blowing hard across my face, but I keep on building steady at my own pace. You throw it out, I pick it up, make it brand new. Metal beams and wooden planks, I see right through to what they could become in these weathered hands. While you're sitting pretty, I'm making my stand. Rusty nails and broken glass, that's my gold mine. Every piece tells a story, every scar defines the man I am, the work I do, the life I chose. When the dust settles down, everybody knows. When the well runs dry and the bank says no, I'll be here still, making something grow. Mike will make it, Mike will make it, from the dust and rust and pain. Mike will make it, Mike will make it, something strong from what remains. Mike will make it, Mike will make it, till the sun burns out again. Mike will make it.
Well, maybe if I click that dang button that says my mic is turned on, I'll be all right. How about now? We good? Audio check, video check. Everybody's happy? Move that a little closer. Oh. Thank you for that. And thank you, Triple J, City Grow Box, Keith at Two Dudes, Miss Heather from Dad's Workshop is in the house. Good to see all you guys, man. I appreciate you. So last week I started on the one jig to rule them all. And it's right over there. I'm going to keep on going with it. Oh, no, it was my fault, Keith. Sorry about that. But I had a serendipitous moment. That's a big word, isn't it? I was cruising through, looking at social media like one does. I got the hiccups. Let me get a little bit of my purple drink. I need some Slizzard. Hold on. Relax, it ain't real Slizzard. And I found somebody with a Craftsman 113 table saw with a cast iron top and cast iron wings. And I had to send a message because I thought it was a typo because it said $5. Turns out it was not. So I scurried my little butt over there and I picked it up, and here it is. The reason I did that is because I already have a Craftsman 113 table saw, just like this one. That's my main saw over there. And it was something I thought would be important for the spirit of my channel to talk about, which is seizing opportunities when they come around to you, being able to make do with what you got. And what does this scream to me? Parts. I've got backup spare parts for all kinds of things that could go bad on my table saw, so I can keep that thing running probably the rest of my life if everything turns out good on this saw. Plus, I may have some other mechanisms I may be able to turn into other machines I want to use around the shop. So I thought I'd do that. Let's reverse engineer a little bit. If you guys aren't familiar with reverse engineering, it's basically that silly thing you did when you was a kid, when you take things apart to figure out how they work. We're just moving it up a level. I absolutely hate when I got my music playing. Is that too loud? Y'all tell me. I just like a little background, man. I don't think you guys just want to sit here and listen to shop today. Outstanding. All right. So reverse engineering, like I said, it's that little thing that you used to do when you was a kid. You know, you get curious about how something works, and you want to see how it works. So you start taking it apart and you fiddle with it, and you look at it and you see this moves this, and I turn this, and that belt moves, and that belt moves, and that shaft moves, and that makes things turn. That's kind of what we did as kids, right? Well, it's that imaginative, deductive reasoning could be a lifesaver for all of us if we're in a pickle and we end up in a place where we just can't order parts, or God forbid, the whole system goes down, falls on its ass. We're not going to have a way to be able to get parts, so we've got to be able to find them when we can get them. That's the little exercise that we're doing today. First thing we want to do is I'm going to take this sucker and I'm going to kick it on real quick just to ensure operability. Because like most machines of this age, it has seen better days. Let's our switch appears to be functional. Give this guy some juice. Bring thunder. Okay, we got a bearing a little funky. That's a little angry, but that's okay. We're salvaging parts. We're not salvaging every part. So with your humble permission, I'm going to start tearing into this thing, and I'll walk you through the whole process as I go through this so that I can figure out what it is I want to keep, what I can get rid of, what I can repurpose to do something else. Give me just a second. Let me grab a couple other tools. Also walk you through some of the things that I'm using when I start engaging in a process like this. All right, sorry about that. Now, when I'm doing this, I usually have pretty much a default kind of set of things that I like to gravitate toward so that I'm ready for pretty much anything that's going to come against me. I keep a variety of combination wrenches on hand, ready to go, full set. A small pry bar, which I'm going to use here in just a moment to get this belt off. Some small picks. Find these on Amazon. I can put a link in the description after we're all said and done. These picks are useful for pulling out things like snap rings, retainers. Those are all going to come up, I'm sure, when I take this thing apart. And both stubby and full-sized straight and Phillips screwdrivers. Regarding screwdrivers, don't use your good set. And we all know you've got a good set. All right. Your good set is probably going to get boogered up good. So pick a half-ass set. because you may end up prying on something with the blade or something like that. Anyway, when we turn this on, all right, we got quite a bit of squeak coming from down in here. I'm going to try to get you guys in here so you can see a little better. Just a second. The more I approach this, the more I think having better camera angles might be advantageous. So I'm going to shimmy things around. Don't worry, I won't make you sick. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Thank you for flying Mike Vegas Step Airlines. We will be experiencing a very slight delay, but thank you for your patience. In just a moment, we'll have you all set together. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this might be a freaky first. I'm going to try to change tripods. Get it straight. T. Campbell says, what are we making? We are reverse engineering a piece of discarded equipment to be able to harvest salvage parts, as well as to find possibly other components that we can use to fix other things. Sit tight, sit tight. Tripod, you move. Other tripod, come over here. Reverse engineering is a lot of what you do on electronics, man. It is an invaluable skill set. And I hope to convey that today. Now what am I going to do? Oh boy, this is going to be fun. We're going to get it though. But I'll tell you what. I'll sit right there. Watch what I'm doing when you get light. Fix all this up. Campbell says he reverse engineers wouldn't do that a lot on electronics manuals. So I love the idea of reverse engineering. It gives me the ability to do so many things I wouldn't normally do had I not picking up the talent for spotting components that might be useful to me. Okay, I'll start sitting for a minute. While I reconfigure this tripod, so I give the tripod the spinny spin instead of you guys. I don't want to make it slip. Alright, now we're on the gears. There you go. Here's the knee bumper. Put this tripod to do the hokey pokey here to turn itself about. While I'm getting you guys drunk, how you feeling? How's the day going? How was the weekend? Hopefully it was relaxing, productive, joyful, whatever it is you strove for it to be. it somewhere. Hang in there, hang in there. I just about spanked this pig. All right. Lay the leg back down. Happy. Go gadget extendo. Oh, look at that. Y'all get right in here and watch what I'm doing. How's that? That wasn't so bad, was it? Down and in you go. It's up to something to do with the phone. Hey, Cam, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you, man. All right. So let's start reverse engineering this guy. Now, looking right down here, this thing, I don't know if you can hear that, but that sure doesn't sound so great. Now, sometimes it may be difficult for you to be able to understand, is it this or the other end of the belt out on this end that's the problem. So we're going to eliminate the belt all entirely, see if our squeak is still here, or if it's on both sides, or just up here on the motor. Now, thankfully, on this one, I got a bit of play. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to depress the belt. So I'm going to move that to the side until the belt tracks off of the pulley. Just like that. Now that I'm off the pulley, I can remove the belt entirely. While we're at it, let's give this guy an inspection. Needless to say, I don't think we'll be reusing this belt. It has seen better days. So we'll get ready to put that in the, we'll check it in the bucket. There you go, get out of here. Now I have something telltale here. I got a loose pulley there. But you know what I don't hear? I don't hear any bearing noise anymore. So that tells me the belt was probably chattering and was misaligned with this loose pulley right here. See how this is moving around? That's what's causing the god-awful noise we're hearing, which is good news. That means we've got this entire assembly, this arbor shaft, this pulley must be, I guess we could tell it was loose. Probably the symptom of why they decided that it wasn't worth anything more than $5. Because this is a very, very key point for you guys. This is probably 90% of the reason why at the end of the day they decided they were going to get rid of this saw for $5 and just get it out of their way. Because they weren't smart enough to understand that there's a set screw right here. And that set screw pushes up against the keyway to hold this on the shaft. Once that set screw loosened, the pulley began to bobble about. It started to make strange noises, probably ran unpredictably, they simply wrote it off and said it wasn't worth the trouble. Luckily for us and our reverse engineering, we're going to be able to put that pulley back, retighten that set screw, and this guy will run true. And we'll be right as rain again. So, move our attention up this way. Our motor free spins over here. As a matter of fact, we can engage it with some power and listen to the bearings and see how it goes. With the belt missing, there's nothing driving any other mechanisms in here. So we can test the motor sitting here standing up. Let's give that a shot one more time just to see what it sounds like when we run this motor. Sounds like it's in great shape. So, for those of you keeping a checklist, if you are keeping a checklist, we can freely say that we can write one electric motor as successfully salvaged from this salvage reverse engineering project. Let's go ahead and eliminate the power. Jim at Soldier Farms, how are you, friend? So now we know that our motor is good to go. We can go ahead and start removing this from the assembly and start taking a look at the rest of this and see what other components we're able to save. Some people do like the ASMR of somebody taking things apart. So we will do just that. Luckily for me, in the 1980s, half-inch and 9/16 were pretty much the standard of the day for Sears Roebuck and Company. So I pretty much, through my experience, already knew those are the 2 wrenches I'm going to need to dismantle most of what I'm looking at. Now the motor is connected to this motor mount assembly right here. We have 4 bolts. Even when you're in one of these dismantling processes, even these are worth saving. They're rusted, they're gunky, they look funny, but with a wire brush they can clean up just fine and serve you for another 50 years. I'll also show you the trick that I use to make sure that I keep the accompanying fasteners well organized when I do these dismantling projects. Caleb in the house with a $1.99 super chat. Let's go! That's what I'm talking about, friend. Thank you so much. Caleb, a long-time supporter of the channel. I thank you so much for doing that, friend. Yes, I saw the March Challenge video, although I didn't get a chance to fish it because somebody came and knocked at the door. I'll go back and watch it here in a little bit, buddy. I can't wait to see what it was all about, Jim. I caught it right about the time you was wrapping up my mail call, and that was it. All right, we've got our second mounting bolt off of there. What was all that racket? Let's hear it again. Super chats. When those happen, you get fireworks displays. This one in fancy channels. We got animations now, brother. That's how we do things around here. Well, don't spoil it, Jim. God. Man comes around and says, watch my video, and then he spoils it and tells you the end of it. Caleb, hang around. If we get another super chat, you'll be able to hear it again. I promise you. All right, I got 3 of these mounting bolts off. Let's get this last one. For those of you that are unfamiliar with this, electric motors, for their size, are a little bit stout. They're a little bit girthy. So you got to remember, this thing is absolutely big enough to smash your tootsies. Whoa, soldier in the house for 10. Let's go. Thank you, friend. See, Caleb, I told you to sit again. All right. We now got our electric motor loose. These were the 4 adjustable slots that we had attached to the motor mount. So now we've successfully harvested ourselves an electric motor. Now there's no tag on this motor, but I can tell you for a fact this is in fact a 2.5 horsepower motor. Runs on 110 with a 53B form factor. Very good universal motor you're going to be able to use for a lot of stuff. All right. Moving on. I told you that I was going to show you how I hang on to these. I simply will just partially screw these right back onto the mount for the motor, so that anywhere I move this motor, the nuts and bolts are still with it to reattach it wherever I want to relocate it. Oh boy, we ended up on Skyrim music. There we go. You know why I like this song? I do like this background track a lot. It reminds me of the show Firefly. I like that a lot. Any Firefly fans? I miss that show. I hear the song and my mind races off to see the crew of Serenity running from the law and trying to make do and stand for what's good. It's a great show. I like that show a lot. All right, guys. What I did was I just rebolted the bolts right onto the mount. Now we can successfully set this aside. For our harvest. So at least the producers know what they were trying to do. Exactly. All right. So we need a few more tools here, because down here, all right, bring it down a little further. There you go. I've got some clues here that may be another thing that's indicative so that I understand exactly where I stand with this saw. This thing is absolutely covered, not in sawdust, but granite and ceramic powder. And the blade, which I'll show you in just a second, indicates to me they weren't even using this as a wood cutting table saw. They were using this as a tile saw. Which means we may have some worn out components, but we'll get to that as we continue to tear in. The material that's being cut, I don't think is necessarily as important as not providing strain on the machine, which it doesn't seem like they've done that. The arbor seems in good shape. The motor seemed in good shape. But first, now we've got to get our arbor nut off. And to do that, we've got to stop this thing from turning. I can turn on this with a wrench all day long, but it's only as long as it keeps spinning, we're not getting nowhere. So we're going to lock that down. Again, guys, if you like what I'm up to, please hit the like button, hit subscribe, share the video, hit the emojis in the corner, the hearts, the 100s, the celebrations, all that stuff. This is all telling the algorithm that what I'm doing is worth the damn and that you're getting something good out of it. Move you guys over in front a little bit. All right. So what I'm doing is I'm adding a pair of locking pliers. Some of y'all know it as vice grips, which now will hold this still while I try to loosen off this nut. And to recap, I see Jim doing the list. I think that well, it's a belt drive. I didn't see a grease fitting. It may be on the reverse of this, but as we continue, I may end up running into one. What is that, a 1-inch arbor? I think it is. 1 1/8. One and an eighth. All right. So now, lucky for us, what's happening is this vice grip is holding this shaft in place so that while I turn this, well, as you can see, it's not working very well. And that's because I don't have this tightened up enough. Forgive me, some of this is probably real beginner for some of you guys. But this is an introduction and to get people comfortable with being able to tear these things, tear into them, let them know there's things that they can accomplish. And the fundamental thing that you take away from this is one thing. This saw was already destined to be nothing. So if I end up salvaging it and resurrecting it into something else, all the better. Welcome, Pecan Grover. Good to see you. All right, so we have a replacement arbor brace and a replacement arbor nut that we can use on our main saw. So we got another set of parts that we were able to salvage. Oh, you're new here. Well, welcome. Let's take a look at this blade. I bet you $1. The minute I take this off, you guys are going to realize this wasn't meant for cutting wood. Look at there. Premium ceramic tile and natural stone. Well, thank you for that. Thank you, Caleb, for sending over a new person. So yeah, obviously they weren't using this as intended. No matter. Now, one other thing now that I thought about it, it's a tile and stone cutting blade. I don't know why they were using this as a stone saw. I guess you made do with what you had. Before I go too much further though, I'm going to replace this arbor nut. And then that saw blade is pretty flat. So we can take a look at another thing that could potentially be wrong with the arbor. Well, we've got a visual cue that will help us. We're going to talk about something called run out. That's good enough. Just need to snug it up. All right. So I'm going to try to bring you in real close. Might even zoom in a little bit here. All right. So we want to know, since this blade is still straight, if this shaft is bent, then we'd see this wobble back and forth as we turn it. right? And that may be another one of the reasons why they decided to get rid of it. So let's go ahead and test that while we got the ability to, and we got a visual cue. Hi, Michelle. We're reverse engineering a saw and dismantling it for parts. So let's give it a turn. I'll leave it up to your eye. I bet you guys can see really well. Tell me if you see any run out in this blade. What do you think, guys? We got run out in that arbor. Gent Soldier Farm says we got a hair or run out. Very slight wobble. Okay. Soldier says, but it could just be slop. You're absolutely right. Now, if this thing were just going back and forth like crazy, then that obviously determines that this arbor probably isn't going to be viable for us to use as a spare part. But I think we can get away with it. That looks like an acceptable amount of run out to me. I literally, and it could be a small bend in the blade. But from what I see maybe a 30-second, about right there. So I think that's, well, after 45 years, I think that's an acceptable amount of run out for me. The thing that would make this unacceptable run out for me is that on a typical table saw cutting blade, the teeth are usually made of carbide and they're about an 1/8 inch wide. So if that run out was wider than an 1/8 of an inch, that may give me a bit of pause. Because then that means I'm going beyond the curve of my carbide blades with the amount of run out. But this is going to be well within acceptable range, I think. Stephen Pollock says, that's pretty good. I'd use it. I think I would too, sir. I think that looks like it's going to be acceptable as a... He says he thinks it's a blade. Okay. Even better. If it is the blade, we're probably not ever going to use this damn blade anyway because I'm not planning on cutting stone on my table saw anytime soon. Although I guess I could if I really wanted to. As demonstrated by this machine. Let's take our arbor back apart. Take our arbor nut back off. Key says, watch the arbor. It's not moving. Okay. Good deal. You know, and there may be something to that because we got a little bit of a jiggle. I don't know if you can hear that. We got a little bit of a wobble, maybe a slight warp in the blade. Good eye, Keith. All right. So now we've determined we've got a good arbor assembly. We have a good electric motor that we can salvage off this guy. This pulley looks like it's, well, this pulley here looks like it's good to go. The problem is that that set screw hangs loose. So let's grab our handy dandy hex set. We'll just torque that sucker back down and confirm it. Oh yeah, that's crazy. Right, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I hear you. That is a nightmare if you lose the key, Jim. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to get that thing on there a little bit farther. And to do that, I'm gonna cheat. Smash in here a little bit better. There's our set screw. And it might be that this pulley has lost its threads no longer viable to hold things in place. I'm going to tighten that lug screw down a little bit. Try to see if I can get a bite on it, or if it has chewed the threads up. In which case, it's still viable. We still got the opportunity to reuse it. I can show you guys if you want. But we can make another set screw, tap, and increase the diameter of that hole. Oh, we're on there. We're on there tight as hell. We're good. I like it. Let's check the angle. Oh, forget it. What I'm doing, I'm turning this crank here, which is the tilt adjustment. In turn, hold on. In turn, it rotates this screw, which in turn is threaded into this mechanism, allowing you to move it. And this thing is built up with a bunch of ceramic stone schmoo, but it seems to be working fine. I think we're in good shape here. So our tilt adjustment is in good shape. Check our depth adjustment, which is the other screw, this one. That seems to be working fine. As a matter of fact, it's working better than the one on my daily driver. So in a future video, we may swap all of this carriage out in lieu of using the other one. Because that's kind of nice. All right, let's back up and zoom out a little bit so you guys can see a little better what we're up to. Alrighty then. So I think this entire carriage assembly is good to go. The first thing that we have to accomplish is getting these screws loose. So as we rotate, we see another set screw here. Using our pick. Remember, our picks are really important for doing this. We have a slot head screw in both of those places. Oh yeah, we'll definitely clean it out, Jim, after we get everything pulled out. It'll be a whole lot easier to clean. Now, what I think that's going to allow us to do, that'll let us take our slot screwdriver, loosen up that set screw, and the idea is that we'll take this entire collar completely off, and in doing that, that'll let us screw this completely out of this piece. We'll repeat the process here, and that will disconnect it from the two screws so that we can get the trunnion set up. That's this whole big trunnion assembly. We'll be able to get that out of the stall. You can see that's threaded inside. One pair of set screws, which this one I've removed. We'll replace that so we don't lose it. And once we have the screw completely out of the assembly, we'll return this where it goes. Another thing about saws, old and new, is ignorance of maintenance. For those of you that are new, and what I mean by that specifically is that ignorance of maintenance translates into somebody not being able to turn these screws, and they make the assumption that they're bent when they're simply just dirty. They've been caked up with sawdust, or in this case, stone dust. All right. And what I'm doing is I'm advancing this screw as far this way as I can, because there's no collar over here. That means I feel comfortable with. Yes. I'll be able to back this screw completely out. We've got a couple of small retaining nuts here holding this keeper in place. Let's find us a smaller wrench if we can't get them things undone. One more info bigger. I estimated it at 2.7 cootie hairs. It was actually 2.8. Hold on, let me stop and read what Bear said. Told her I didn't believe the stuff, so my boss kept telling me, watch the speed. That was the day before the storms. And you see the chemtrails. Oh my goodness. It's chemtrail time, okay. We disconnect this handle. Okay, so we pulled our tilt adjustment handle off, which exposed the back of these other two right here, which will let us get a bite on them and get them undone. As I take a look at where I set that other wrench. And we're in. Right. See. Maybe. If you ever get a nut stuck in your wrench, re-screw the screw back in there and that'll let you get it out. Again, guys, I know this is really one-on-one, talking about a lot of basic stuff. And that was directed toward my more experienced people. If you're getting something out of this of value, I appreciate it. Sit around, keep enjoying it. You are precisely the reason I'm doing it. What I'm doing right now is removing these two screws loosen and evacuate that retainer plate. And so seriously, my young people don't even tinker anymore. There's someone needs to see this. Yes, absolutely. I hope there is. I hope they're taking something good out of it. I really do. I'm glad you are, buddy. It's very ASMR. I'll tell you that. I don't know what the hell ASMR means, but I see the context people use it in. And it's supposed to be something that you do that's relaxing, soothes your soul. There's something to be said about doing this kind of stuff. All right. So now we've got this screw. Okay. Now we've got this screw completely free, which means that when we get ready to remove this, that screw will come out with it. Michelle says she can't stand ASMR stuff. There's something to that. I suppose, like everything, it's not everybody's cup of tea. I'm going to crank y'all up to it, see what I'm doing. Back here, removing the first of 1, 2, 3, 4 trunnion bolts, holding this into the body. I'm also going for a little bit of that relaxation because I just need to go over there and grab my sockets. There this up. One of the reasons why I don't advise doing that when you're dismantling a machine like this is that as you're doing something repetitive like loosening this bolt, you get kind of bored and your eyes will start wandering around. And you'd be surprised the number of things that you'll pick up on that you didn't originally notice simply because you were going slow while you were doing this. Oh, I didn't realize that was cracked, or hey, I just noticed that was bent. This is a really good opportunity to spot those things. That's also pretty telling. That wasn't even tightened. I didn't even have to put a wrench on it. I'm just backing it off. See if that fourth one is the same way. Nope, that one's got a pipe. Oh, but it just barely had a pipe. Didn't need maybe a 16th of a turn of what it is. All right, now, that being said, if we've got one more back here in the very back, you're not going to see it. It's back here in the center. Pop that guy loose. And maybe have one more up there. We do. Yeah, Michelle, I'm not going to listen to anybody eat either. There's a reason they were told us to chew with our mouth shut. For some reason, somebody decided that was therapy, which is a little odd. And I think it's barely on there, but it looks like I'm running in there a quarter turn. Free that up enough. So how was the weekend? I hope the hell ever was it? I hope you guys had a good one. We've now disengaged this entire assembly. Which means once we remove this handle here, we'll be able to take this whole thing out. I'm gonna move around to the other side of the bench. We'll work on getting that guy out. Screw this retaining screw. That just came right off. Our indicator can go right back in the slot where it was. Oh, we've got one more here. This is the trunnion lock lever. They use this to be able to let you set a position and you lock it in. It never gives you fits again. Now, I'm going to try to handle that just like that. Now that's inside. Woo! It's the most masonry dust I had around here I've ever seen in my life. See if we can wrangle this guy out of here. And after doing so, you guys will get a better view of everything on here and how it works. Jim, thank you for bringing that up, man. I'll get that covered in just a minute as soon as I get safe. Set that right over here out of the way. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this sheet metal casing out of the way real quick, and then we can turn our attention back to the trunnion. We can learn more about how it works and what it does. As you can see, table saw at the end of the day really isn't entirely that difficult. It's a motorized saw in a box. And I bet I undid less than 20 bolts here. And it essentially took apart the entire assembly. Let's see the other side. Turn the bolt the right way, Dingus. So says his cousin's husband worked in a line mine and had a condition similar to black lung and passed away way young. Yeah, I don't know why they decided to use this saw as a stone cutting saw or a tile saw. But of course, I'm imagining just because they may do what they got, and that's a pretty good indicator. There were supposed to be 4 bolts on the sheet metal on, but there were only 3. One was set in the center and 2 over here. So that's probably another indicator that they just pieced this thing together to do what it's going to do. And frankly, didn't care if it lasted a long time as long as it lasted long enough to get the job done. Keep the rock dust on the saw. Actually, no. Give me just a second. I'm about to shock all of you. You're going to lose your minds because I actually own one. Just a second. Don't panic. I'm about to do something you did not prepare for. Yes, I have dust collection. Do I use it? Rarely. Do I have it? Yes. All right, hot dog. We came to a couple of other components that might be really useful, not only for replacement parts, but as the potential upgrade to the saw that I've got over there. Another 113 just like this one. Part of it is this guy right here. That's another cast iron extension wing. I already have two, but by adding another one, I can expand my rip capacity by another 12 inches. That would give my little rinky-dink saw, oh, I'm about to make some people jealous. That will give it a 65-inch rip capacity. Let's do that. Not very many people have a little okey-doke saw like this with over 5 foot of rip capacity on it. But to accomplish that, first thing we got to do is take this thing off the main cast iron top. Now, with that being said, if that's something you guys are interested in, I could take my existing 113, upgrade it with these better trunnion systems, rebuild a whole new case, and turn one of these little guys into a full-fledged cabinet saw, like you find in a cabinet shop. 5 foot rip capacity, big outflow table, super accurate fence. Tell me, how many of you guys ever had one of these saws? It's a Craftsman 113. They were very popular. They sold them throughout the 70s and 80s up into the early 90s. There's probably 30 years of history on these things. I'm the only one. Yeah, that was one of the primary arguments about these, Jim, is it wasn't necessarily the saw, it was the fence system that they used. It was wholly inaccurate. Now, so that you guys see, I want you to know I'm using a wrench here. This is a good trick for up the field. Man, take a look. I'm using a wrench that's entirely too big. What I'm doing is I'm wedging it underneath and then pressing on it as a lever to bind the bolt up, which allows me to finish unbolting it over here. That's a pretty handy thing to know. Let's say you got two 9/16 heads, but you only got a 9/16 and a 5/8 or a 3/4. You can still use this little trick to get it undone. You rusty sucker, come on. You're gonna fight me every way, all the way down, ain't you? Yeah, you are. You can go a half turn at a time. Give me the other, all the way down. I'm more patient than you are. All right. Let's get the YouTube junk out of the way. Move some of this around. That's fine. Don't worry about that. Thank you for coming in, Jim. Appreciate you, bud. You ain't bothering me a bit. I'm just glad to have seen you, pal. We're going to use that same trick. Bind up here. You too, man. Have a wonderful night, man. Okay, we did that right. Now we've got, yes. One 12-inch extension wing that we can add to our existing 113. So now not only have we been able to salvage replacement parts, we've actually secured some upgrades. Alright. Reasons unknown. There's things broken on the other side, so we'll attach these first. Again, let's use our wedge trick with our larger wrench. Bite in there. Again, we don't have the proper size wrench. We just want a hair bigger on one side to hold it still. Oh, you found it under good. And then that bites the dust. Did I say that out loud? I did that for a reason because now gravity is functioning the same way that the big wrench was, holding this in place while I'm moving up. That's an interesting, very thick gauge angle iron that they used for the fence system on this model, which, depending on who you ask, is an absolute pile of trash. But you know what it is for me? Very, very thick raw material for me to make something else out of. That looks like it could be the way to a lathe. What you think? Who's in charge of the music? What the hell are we listening to? This looks like the remainder of where the power switch was broken off of the fence rail. Not a big deal. We won't be using that anyway. Thank you. Please like, please subscribe. Maybe I could drop a router in here. That's a good idea. Maybe I could. Appreciate this. For a trim router, that might not be too bad. Let's compare. I have my Harbor Freight trim router that I 3D printed a better handle for. Same kind of shape. We're already almost there. what I'd have to do is print another plate. Very similar to the one I made here. You'd be absolutely right. I guess a brilliant idea. Condition-wise, I don't think there's anything wrong with this. We don't have a big problem with deep rust or pits or any of that kind of stuff, unless it's in a watery environment, which out here in the desert, West Texas, that just doesn't happen. Or should I say, it doesn't happen very frequently at all. So let's get what's left of this other wing off. Awesome suggestion, Triple J. Another wonderful channel and a great supporter. If you guys ain't subscribed to him, please do so. He's very innovative in and of himself in a lot of ways. All rated 9, some. Maybe a little lazy with it. Like this with a bicycle. So we heard a vote about making a router table about it. If you're watching the chat, what else would you suggest to make that? Let's know down here in the chat, the comments. Are you good at taking things apart, figuring out how they work? Or do you just enjoy watching people do the process? Either way, well. I couldn't believe for the life of me that this thing was out there for $5. It's pretty shocking, actually. A lot of them are mechanically inclined, but I'm over here annoying the hell out of them. This was something else. There's like epoxy on this. Try, I guess we'll have to shoot it off in it. Get a cold chill. They really truly just cobbled this thing together to make it work. Get out of the way so I can get that part. JB Cole on the office. Wow. Nothing says screw the next guy like putting JB wall over the top of a bowl. Butt face. There we go. Hey, what's up, buddy? It is, in fact, what's left of a 113 table saw that I found on the marketplace find for $5. We're scalping it for parts. As I have a 113 in it. It's not like anybody's going to be making parts for a 113 anytime soon. Here, let me see what I've done. Sorry. They tried to put the wing back on with JD weld, even though they had a bolt in there. I don't even know why. Maybe they put some safety stops because they broke the cast iron like there's some good sticking out. Maybe they tried to cover them up with JD weld to try to make it not so dangerous. Maybe that was the plan. And there's JD welded that whole corner. I don't know why. But that's irrelevant. This isn't necessary. Check it in the bucket bucket. Now, so we turn our attention to this top. But before we do, I did indeed promise we'll zoom up as high as we can. Let's revisit the trunnion so that we can reverse engineer that and get an exercise there. All right. Underneath it all, when it's all said and done, for those of you that are new and have never done this is called the trunnion. It's very simply a carriage that's moving the table saw in two directions. First off, it's going to move it up and down using this screw here. Zoom in so you can get closer. You see here, there's a screw and there's a series of teeth that runs across here in a rounded shape. It's called a rack and pinion. And when we re-engage a screw handle back on here, we can see as we move that, it advances these teeth and it raises and lowers the depth of the blade. Now, this action works great. A lot better even than the saw that I normally use as my quote-unquote daily driver. So I think in a future video I'll be replacing the trunnion in my existing saw with this guy. And another thing we got to do is clean out our other direction, which is our tilt arbor. It has seen better days. But the good news is, I'll try to get you a really close-up view. It's not damaged. It's good. As you guys know, this is a pretty prime way. You can end up picking up a saw dirt cheap because they think it's broken. When in reality, what's happened is that all of these threads have become caked with material from the blade, because the blade is actually sitting above this and it's cascading all the debris onto the screw. Then when you move this nut, what it does is it grinds all that material down into the threads. As you can see, that sucker's moving pretty free. But it doesn't mean it couldn't use a good cleaning. In a minute, I'll try to find my wire brush. I think that's what I said. It's probably with my welding equipment. See if I set it on top of the welder, and then we can try to clean this off. See, get this run even smoother than it already is. Just a second, folks. Be right back. I don't know if you can see it. You saw that dust comes flying out of there. See, every time I pull back, there's a big puff of smoke or dust flying out of these. Screw pitch thread. My computer just glitched. Did I lose you? You still here? Test, test. Okay, perfect. Yeah, see, that thing's just flying up and down. So that's good news. We'll give this a bit more to clean it. Get all of this tile dust out of here. For reasons unknown, they decided to use a wood table saw as a tile saw. For those of you that missed it, this was the blade. diamond dust tile and ceramic plate. I guess another example of making do with what you got. Which I can't be mad about. All right. We got a good trunnion. We got a good arbor. Bearings are smooth. Both of the actions work really well. I know it sounds odd, but this may actually turn into a video of me replacing the trunnion in my existing saw with this one, because this one actually, believe it or not, given its history as a tile saw, this one actually moves in both directions a lot smoother than mine does. And then I can set the existing trunnion in my saw back as a backup in case I ever need it in the future. I know that today I was supposed to be working on the continuation of the jig, but I think this is really indicative of things I find important that I wanted to show you guys and teach you about on my channel. And that's that when opportunity comes, you get on it. You know, at the beginning, you lose yourself. If you have one chance, one moment, see spare parts for your table saw, did you capture it or let it slip? The trunnion drumming is all full of dust and gummy. So full of damn tile dust, it ain't funny. Norm, how are you, friend? We were just going over the basic workings of a table saw trunnion, of which we procured a replacement for my old Craftsman 1130. And I adore the idea that now, instead of sitting around hoping to God something doesn't break, now I know I've got a bevy of replacements to keep my saw going when it does start going in the pan. And I'm glad for that. All these mechanisms work great. Oh, I'm so pleased. This is perfect. Set that trunnion aside for the moment. As the front runner of the best damn $5 I ever spent in 2026 to get a fully functioning table saw and all these replacement parts for $5. Let's see if we can't do something to make this top a little more pretty before we think about turning it into a router table. Thank you, Triple J, for that solution. Let's see what we first, let's not smash our fingies. Rule of the shop, never put your pinky where you wouldn't put your dingy. All right. Let's start with not so aggressive. You ready to see this? Let's shine it like a new dime. rusty and funky like this, if you don't write it off, so there's very little effort that I put in here. Right? Although I do tell you, I can't shake will stand here all night. Trying to send that big. Don't try this at home, kids. Don't let you get. Let's go. Man, Sam, look at that. That sucker's gonna come out nice. You guys see me using a flat disc with an angle grinder. Don't do that unless you're very well versed with running your angle grinder, because you'll easily make divots and ruts and make this wobbly and uneven. But I've got enough of a touch that I can make this really smooth, and whatever small marks I miss with the grinder, I can come back with the sander and finish it off. What do you think? You think I got my $5 worth out of it? I think I did. Thank you for spamming the 100. Appreciate you. That's letting the algorithm know people got interest in what I'm doing. This is good. Closer inspection of this top, there's not any chips, not any grooves or ruts in it. It's just boogered up, covered with stuff, and that's coming right off. That looks like that might be a winner. It really is. It really is. And I like your idea. Let's come back over here. We had this throat plate here. Otherwise, I'd have a real struggle with figuring out what I'm going to do with another big cast iron top because this thing's thick, probably 3/8 of an inch. And then Triple J had a wonderful idea. I bet I can 3D print me a throat plate that will let me accommodate my router and then integrate this into my existing 113 and give me a really solid, stout router table. Granted, it'll have an anemic router in it, but I'm not even mad about that. But we may have to confirm. Will the router fit through there? Yes, it will. It will fit right in there. So we'll get to work on dimensioning for another router plate. By the way, if you guys want it, and you've got one of these Trim Master cheap $20 trim routers, want a little better handle for it, I ended up 3D printing this or mocking this up. 3D printing, so you've got a little bit more control with that guy. Let me know. I got the STLs. If you got a 3D printer, I can show you how to do it. Well, yeah. I'm going to bring y'all down below. Thanks for hanging out with me. There's several ways you can support the channel. Subscribe, of course, become a member. Or if you can't afford to do that, then simply just share the video. Hit the like on it. Tell somebody else about it. Tell somebody what I'm doing. I think you guys will love that. To recap, for $5, we ended up with this huge top, the trunnion setup, which works phenomenal. We ended up with a 3 horsepower peak, 1.5 horsepower continuous electric motor that works great. Bearings are good in it. And at the end of the day, I hope I taught some of you guys that these table saws aren't as mystifying as they try to make them look. I mean, they make them look really sleek. Big fancy cases on them. They're not all that. Fly, good to see you. You missed all the work. Well, thank you for stopping in, dear. I appreciate you doing it. This power switch I probably will not be reusing until I build myself another case for it. Let's see if we can get this guy apart. Maybe we can model it. Want to do that? Take a look. Back in on the Zoom cam. Let's see what we got. Micro tools we keep. We got a pick because we got a tab right there. It may let us open this enclosure. And of course, I hope it goes without saying, I did not have power connected to this. It is not energized. Don't be a fool. Or if you want to do it while it's energized, then that's on you. Take a look at what's in here. We'll find out through reverse engineering that this isn't nearly as mystifying as it looks. thank you for that, Fly. Appreciate you saying so. The lock. There we go. What they've done here is they created a safety lock in that this switch won't do anything without these two pins inserted into two corresponding holes in here to make the mechanism work. The good thing about older antique tools, I call it 80s an antique, but let's face it, it's 2026. We might as well just shut up and just accept it. It is what it is. It's old. We're old. Welcome to life. We try to get these rails out. So you can see how this whole shebang works. There we go. Ooh! Electricity! Terrifying. This is insightful. Take care, Fly. We got a little plug here, and I've got these two copper connections that run back here to connect to my switch. Watch what happens without the case. And you'll be able to see a rare glimpse of what happens inside a light socket. For those of you that don't know, that's how the plug connects. One terminal going to one end, one terminal to the other, just held in a couple of copper pinches up here. And your ground held in this little square pinch right there. Pretty interesting, right? And now you learned how a 110 outlet works. All right, these little switches were genius. What's happening is this is moving a slider back and forth inside the switch, but it's using those pins on this guy to do so. No clicky because there's no fingers in there moving that thing back and forth. Put that back, clicky. Well, this live's been interesting enough. I hope you guys had fun with it. Hope you got something out of it. I will most certainly, you will see this table saw and its components again in future videos. I made up the decision. I talked with a few other people. Triple J's one of them. Yeah, I'm going to add this other extension wing that I got from this saw. I'm going to bring it into my existing daily driver, which is another 113 like this saw that I just got. I'm going to bring that in. I'm going to clean this top up, take some dimensions off after it's cleaned up, turn the throat plate, turn this into a router table that'll go on the opposing side. And for all of about $35 all in, I think I bought that saw for 30 bucks. And I bought this one for $5. We'll have 60 inches of rip capacity, an integrated cast iron router tabletop. Could do a lot worse. I think I'm gonna call it go find me something to eat, guys. Thank you so much for being in here. Appreciate it. If you got anything out of it, hit like, hit subscribe, hit share, do all the things. You know how to support if you want to. Thank all of you guys. I hope you have a wonderful week. This has been pretty interesting, man. This was a hell of a catch. I'll be back next week with the second installment of the jig to rule them all. Thanks, guys. Love every one of you.
You know what this callous hands working this red dirt land, picking up scraps and broken things, making them work again. Mike will make it, Mike will make it, from the dust and rust and pain. Mike will make it, Mike will make it, something strong from what remains. Mike will make it. You seen me down in the heat, sweat dripping on concrete, taking your trash you're thrown away, building tomorrow today. Mike will make it, Mike will make it, from the dust and rust and pain. Mike will make it, Mike will make it, Mike will make it. Listen, make it. Folks, let me tell you about the way I live. Taking scraps from the junkyard, got so much to give. West Texas wind blowing hard across my face, but I keep on living steady at my own pace. You throw it out, I pick it up, make it brand new. Metal beams and wooden planks, I see right through to what they could become in these weathered hands. While you're sitting pretty, I'm making my stand. Rusty nails and broken glass, that's my gold mine. Every piece tells a story, every scar defines the man I am, the work I do, the life I chose. When the dust settles down, everybody knows. When the well runs dry and the bait says no, I'll be here still, making something grow. Mike will make it, Mike will make it, from the dust and rust and pain. Mike will make it, Mike will make it, something strong from what remains. Mike will make it, Mike will make it, till the sun burns out again. Mike will make it.